Good morning and welcome to the Holy Cross College Men's and Women's Soccer Media Day from the File Center on the campus of Holy Cross College. Today we are joined by the head coach of both the men's and the women's programs, Omar Gallo, who's in his second year with the women's program and his 8th year with the men's program. Omar, what is the difference in your coaching style from year one to now for both programs?
I think we'll start with the women first. Last year we were very limited in numbers. We inherited a team, and unfortunately it was quite late in the recruiting process. So from a tactical game plan, myself and my staff had to put together a certain style of play was a little bit more defensive due to our numbers rather than attacking and trying to exhaust our players on the pitch. So I think the difference in regards to philosophy and the tactical game plans this year is really comes down to our depth and our numbers we have in our team, where I think last year we had about 13, 14 players, at times only one sub on the bench, where this year we have a solid 23 girls on the bench. We pretty much have a backup for every position on the pitch, which is really allowing us to push the gas and play a very aggressive attacking style of play.
What are some of the differences between coaching in the men's game and coaching in the women's game?
It's a funny question there because, the men, they typically would just show up to practice and just want to play and do their own kind of thing, where the girls kind of trust your philosophy a little bit more and kind of listen to the tactics and the game plan. But, to give the guys credit this year, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've had early success, and actually both programs is there's really not too much of a difference this year. Both teams have done a great job supporting each other. Both teams have continued to trust the process, and they trust the scouting reports. They're trusting the patterns that we're trying to create in training when we're trying to attack. They're trusting our defensive tactics. So, in the past, we've had some great teams here on the men's side, and at times, there's been a bit of a lack of consistency because of them wanting to come in and just play their own kind of style at times. But we have two very disciplined teams this year, and it boils down to the coaching staff and I have, and more importantly, the captains and leadership that we have on both teams that have really solidified how we want to play. So in regards to differences this year, there's not too many differences this year. The culture, the chemistry, and the belief that both teams have and the discipline they have is just it's kind of allows us to have early success right now.
Both teams are off to a good start, 2-1 in non-conference play. The men's team had a terrific matchup against Bethel the other night, down 2. You come back, you storm Bethel for 3 goals, you end up coming out of there with a victory. And the women did their job yesterday against Bethel as well. How do you guys keep that momentum from the non-conference games throughout the rest of the schedule as you get set for CCAC play?
That's going to be the key here, and that's something that we've talked about. I have a very perseverance group on my hands right now with both teams. We're trying to play the same style on both sides here with the men and women, and consistency is the key to making a run and winning your conference games and winning a championship here. And that's the ultimate goal on both programs going into this season. But, I think what they've showed me in not only the non-conference games against Bethel and other opponents such as, Marion and whatnot, and great Christian there, I think it began in preseason. There was games where we were down and we were able to come back and battle. So as long as we maintain the humble attitude, we don't get a little bit too ahead of ourselves. I want them to enjoy the win. I think anytime you can beat a crosstown rival like Bethel, who's really had a number over the last couple of years, you look at the women's side and they beat us 6-1 last year, and yesterday was only 3-1 for us, but in my opinion, it's complete domination with outshooting them 18-5, the guys being down 2 and coming back to win 3-2. I mean, we have 2 teams here that won't give up, and that's the difference. So if we as a coaching staff can continue to make them believe, giving them the encouragement that they need, and allowing to them to have trust in each other, we'll be okay. And I think the energy is high right now, and we're out for the next week and a half. It could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I think beginning practice and training today with the guys, and going back in a full session tomorrow with the girls, that practice sessions have been intense and players have been getting after each other with it. But at the end of the hour and a half of training session, we're all clapping encouraging each other. And as long as we continue to create that atmosphere in training, that high intensity level that we're creating in training, then I think we'll be fine going into conference.
Let's talk about the Chicagoland Collegiate Athletic Conference for a second. What makes that conference such a difficult one to play in? Because there are a lot of really good soccer teams in the CCAC.
Yes, no, that's definitely accurate. There's on the men's side, it's from number 1 to number 13. I mean, you're looking at a difference of a few points, right? So every game is important on the men's side. Even on the women's side, you look at the Trinity Christians. Following the schedule right now, Trinity International is doing quite well, and there's other teams that are doing quite well, and the Cardinal Stritch on both sides. Obviously, it comes down to the culture that those teams are creating. There's a lot of good coaches in our conference, right? And there's a lot of teams in our conference. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's, I want to say 13, 14 on both sides right now, and they're adding more teams next year. So, the number of teams, the competitiveness that it has, it makes it very difficult, to compete. And we're only taking 8 teams in the conference tournament, so every game is important, right? So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for both teams this year. I think we have teams that can get into both conference tournaments. But I think the reason why that they've had a lot of success is, there's a tremendous amount of quality coaches in our conference, and a lot of the teams play good football. They're playing good soccer, and they're moving the ball well, and that's what you want to see in a conference. So personally, I'd rather be in a conference that's competitive and as deep as our conferences are, rather than just having 1 or 2 quality teams. And I'm really excited that the girls will be able to compete at that level this year, and I'm extremely confident that the guys will be able to make a statement as well.
We're just getting started in the football or soccer season, depending on how you want to word the terminology. But who are some of the players that on both sides that have stood out for your clubs in the early going?
Yeah, without giving too much scouting report out there on our players, you know what? On the men's side, local talent here, Axel. He's a big-time player for us. He's a kind of player that kind of went under the radar here in the South Bend area from Adams High School. He struggled the first half against Bethel and, gave up that PK, but he came back and, obviously had a tremendous second half with scoring 2 goals there. So Axel, he stands out. He's a sophomore returning. And then we have a few players that have come in. We have transfer Jeff, who's really anchored the back line. A strong freshman class with Kamoy in the back line as well. And we just have a young group of guys like Jeff Harper, Daniel Lynch, that just want to get after it, and that's what we've been missing here, just young guys coming in that want to get after it. So our freshman class have really stood out, but it's really tough to pick just 1 or 2 guys. Honestly, what we have this year on the men's side is just a strong group of returning players and an incoming group of guys that are just hungry. The women's side, we've started 8 new players on the pitch. So really, there's a lot of girls we can name, but, Florida Gulf Coast transfer there, Nicole Cook has really come in and given us the attack and spark we've needed in the final third. Transfer, Lauren Cernick from Goshen has really worked extremely hard, both in the defending and the attacking side of the game. And then just in our back line there, Audrey is one of the most composed defenders I've ever seen in the game. And Bella, it's good to see her have some support in that back line this year, because she's done a lot for this program in the last few years. And, that back line of Audrey, Bella, and Riley has really anchored things for us. And then last but not least there, Chloe, just having a goalkeeper that is really confident is allowing us to lead to our attack. So with that being said, you can throw in some other names there, like, Olivia Shaw. She's probably the most confident player I've seen on the ball. We're just extremely excited for this women's program moving forward.
What are some of the goals, short-term and long-term, for both teams, but for the entire soccer program in general here at Holy Cross College?
First and foremost is just we want to create a culture, a supporting culture here with both programs. I come from a program in Cape Breton where both programs have been successful over the last 10 to 12 years, and the support I had when I was playing at the collegiate level with one program supporting the other really encouraged us to want to play well and motivate us to get the W. And that's, when I took over the women's program, that's what I wanted to create here at Holy Cross. In such a short time here, the support that our men's are giving our women's and the women's are giving our men's on the pitch and off the pitch is really motivating both programs to excel and do well quite early on. So, that's the number one goal, is just creating that atmosphere between both programs. Then you get into your goal settings for the season. We break our seasons down into 4 seasons, with fifth kind of being that bonus season, with, first season's preseason, right? And just making sure that we're implementing some of the things that we learned early on in training camp. Then non-conference season, that's kind of where now we're able to start moving players around, practicing our tactical game plans and whatnot. And hopefully, the preseason and non-conference season prepares us for the conference season, which is, in my opinion, the most important season there in the first three seasons. And then conference season is hopefully you've kind of got all the butterflies out of the players' stomachs, and you've tweaked what you've had to tweak in preseason non-conference schedule, and that's where you kind of need to get your results there in conference. And then our fourth season is conference tournament, and the goal there is to make a run. You want to finish top 2 in hopes of getting to the nationals, and the bonus is the national tournament. So when it's all said and done, looking at the big scheme of things, the goal is to get into conference tournament for both programs, and we believe with the teams we have this year, that's a realistic goal.
All right, get you out of here with this question. It'll be a successful season for both the men's and women's programs at Holy Cross College if, finish the sentence.
Both teams are celebrating midway through November, raising a conference banner here at Holy Cross College for the first time in school history.
All right, Omar, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.